right, today I would like to discuss a new growing interest of research that involves the ocean. So, right now we have a great opportunity to provide research that will convert ocean water into energy. And so, my discussion will be about ocean geothermal energy conversion. And so again, like I said, it's a growing interest. That means there's research currently being done, however, there needs to be more and there needs to be funding for it. So that's why I'm talking to you guys about it today. And so what this involves is a pump system in the ocean water. So I will shed light on more of that here in a moment. And I'll talk about how there's a cycle used between hot and cold water that creates this conversion process. And I'll also talk about how thermal energy is important for that conversion, and talk about why it's important to research this topic, why it's important to develop a new type of energy from what we have currently, because currently we have way too much CO2 in the air. We have an ozone layer that's very thin, and so if we can stop pumping so much CO2 in the air and just use what we already have so much of, which is ocean, because the earth is, majority of it is covered in water. Why not take that and convert it to energy to power our everyday lives, versus like where we go to work, school, hospitals, homes, all this stuff. So in the journal Future of Energy Conversion by Baez in 2019, talks about the ocean thermal energy conversion process known as OTEC. And so I have provided a diagram for you guys to follow along as I kind of describe what this does, what this pump system does. And so it in the Renewable Energy Journal by Jean in 2010, it talks about how the warm water is drawn up to create liquid, which evaporates into liquid ammonia. The cold water will condense a generator exhaust and in turn forms liquid. They together combine to create this cycle of the ammonia and the hot water and the cold water, and they go through a working fluid vapor to a turbine, and the hot water eventually creates enough energy to produce a turn in the turbine, which then powers energy, which then goes out to our everyday lives, our electricity, stuff that we can use daily. And so that is kind of the cycle of the hot and the cold water. And so I'll go ahead and take this off. And the Journal of Renewable Energy by Jean in 2010 talks about why the hot water is so important, why that heat is. And like I just mentioned before, it helps to turn that turbine, which creates the energy. So by author Stefansson in 2000, published a journal, Renewability of Geothermal Energy, that has a fancier terms of what I just said, but I'll go ahead and say it anyway. Its energy recharges when the advection of the thermal water occurs with all its different, when there's a production of different resources. So again, that's what I'm saying, the water's taken up, the hot, the cold, it creates a cycle, turns a turbine, produces energy, which then produces electricity. So the Journal of Coastal Research by Zhang in 2019 now talks about where this hot water comes from. So you might be asking, well, where does the hot and where does the cold water come from? You may not know that the ocean has two different temperatures. You might, but I'll go ahead and shed some light. So the heat can come from the ocean's crust, and so it talks about how it comes from radioactive elements from the rocks and minerals. And in another journal of the Future of Energy Conversion by Baez in 2019, talks about how the sun's energy produces the thermal effect on the water. So the heat from the sun reflects down to the ocean, creates a warmer temperature. Now, as far as the cold water, the cold temperatures are usually where the sun really doesn't shine too much. It's in the deep part of the ocean, so that's where that cold water comes from. So the pump would have to go down pretty far in order to reach that cold water. The hot water shouldn't be it should be easy to access. And the Journal of Coastal Research by Zhang in 2019 explains why this new type of energy that is converted can be converted into a safe and sustainable environment for us. So it can help eliminate some of those issues that we currently have with the too much CO2 in the air, the ozone layer that's currently very thin, and help alleviate some of those issues, but still keep what we deal with in our daily lives. And so the Future of Energy Conversion by Baez in 2019 talks about how the ocean is a new world frontier. And so that basically means that we have an abundance of water, and if we can use it to provide our daily lives, that's kind of the new thing. That's kind of what we need to strive for. That's the thing that we need to put research into and try to create an energy that's safe and sustainable. And so the Journal of Coastal Research by Zhang in 2019 talks about how the new energy that we develop as a human society from using the ocean water will create new safe and environment for our future generations. So not only will we provide a safe, effective environment for us today, we can continue this so our future generations don't have to worry about the air quality and the type of lifestyle that they might have to kind of put aside, because now there's too much CO2 in the air. The ozone layer might be just way too thin to where we can't really have a safe environment, so we might have to cut back on some things, which isn't what everyone wants. We always want more of. So if we can take what we have an abundance of and create a lifestyle, why not look more into it? And so the Journal of Renewable Energy by Kamara and Akapinar in 2009 again talks about how geothermal energy can help decrease that greenhouse gas emission effect. And so today I discussed the pump system that has been created and based out of Hawaii. And I talked about why the hot and the cold water is important, why the thermal energy part of it is important for the conversion, and why it's just important to look into these different ways that we can sustain a safe and healthy environment for our future, not only for now, but for our future. So thank you guys for watching.